I'm the vicious female supporting character who dies young in a group favorite novel. I became a vegetative state patient while saving my childhood friend. I worked for the system as an under the table labor for 3 years and finally managed to come back to life. A row of bullet comments suddenly appeared before my eyes. The supporting female character has woken up after all. My poor heroine is about to be bullied soon. Don't be afraid. Although the heroine started out as a stand-in, she has long since won over the supporting character's childhood friend and family. If the supporting character dares to hurt the heroine, they'll be the first to object. If the supporting character knew that her beloved childhood friend and family, while missing her, gave all their love to someone else and that now no one hopes for her to wake up, I wonder how she would feel, just as I had lost all hope and began to suspect that coming back was a mistake. Bullet comments appeared again. Female supporting character. Don't listen to them. The villain has been secretly in love with you all along and prays every day that you'll wake up. Female supporting character. Look at Jiangqi, his room is covered with your photos. He calls out your name in his sleep every night, and when he wakes up, the bed sheets are beyond looking at. Ooh, Jiangqi, isn't he the mortal enemy I fought tooth and nail against in the business world? I lay in the hospital bed watching line after line of bullet comments flash across my eyes. My heart was a mix of conflicting emotions. This was the 6th hour since I woke up. The nurse immediately went to notify my parents and younger brother, but not one of them came because today was Su Xinya's debut dance performance. From the scrolling comments, I learned that Su Xinya was the daughter my family adopted after I fell into a coma. She looks very much like me, and she is the beloved heroine of this world, and I was just a supporting female character meant to be cannon fodder. After being in a vegetative state for 3 years, I somehow became bound to a system and woke up. The system's words before I left still echoed in my ears. The person you miss may not want you to go back. One day, you will willingly stay behind and keep me company. Hurried footsteps came from outside the door, and what came into view was Mom's anxious expression. You're finally awake, with a heavy weight on my shoulders. Mom hugged me tightly and burst into tears. Behind her came Dad and my younger brother Su Qin, with Su Xingyao entering last. Looking at the girl in front of me, she really did look 7 or 8 parts like me, with the hairstyle and clothes deliberately imitated. From a distance, even someone familiar with us would probably mistake her for me. As soon as she saw Su Xingyao, Mom immediately let go of me. Su Qin, who had originally wanted to hold me, also withdrew his hand, and even Dad coughed softly, trying to make himself look not too excited. LOL. The supporting female character still thinks she's everyone's favorite. Look, as soon as the female lead shows up, no one even dares to look at her a second time. Then I'm relieved. Otherwise, with her little baby so delicate and weak, wouldn't she be bullied to death by the supporting female character? Let her keep acting up. Her ending is going to be tragic, sent abroad by her family to fend for herself, raped overseas, and finally dying miserably on the street. Seeing my own ending, I couldn't help but shudder. She looked up, confused, at the few of them. Who are you? That's right. I'm pretending to have amnesia. After all, I can't believe everything the barrage says. I need to verify it myself. Hearing my words, Mom's eyes turned red again. You don't recognize us anymore. We are your. Before she could finish speaking, her father interrupted her. We're your uncle and aunt. As soon as those words fell, the whole room fell silent. The two exchanged glances, and Mother lowered her head, saying nothing. These two are our son and daughter, which means they're your cousin and cousin sister. Ha ha ha. They had the supporting female lead pretend to have amnesia, and now she's directly without father or mother, turned into an orphan. Let's see how she causes trouble later. Her supporting female lead dad's move is brilliant. Even her own dad doesn't want her anymore. The supporting female lead should understand her place now. Right. I ignored the ridicule in the bullet comments and turned to look at Su Qin. the younger brother I had once fought desperately to protect. Cousin. When Su Chen was little, he was abducted by human traffickers, and I jumped onto the vehicle at the last moment and was taken away with him. When we escaped, I carried the exhausted Su Chen on my back and walked through the forest for 3 hours. By the time we finally got to the hospital, Su Chen only had minor injuries, while I had fallen unconscious for 2 days because of severe blood loss. I still remember Su Chen crying bitterly by my hospital bed. The boy held my hand and swore to protect me for the rest of his life. It was the younger brother who said he would protect me forever, who, when faced with Su Xinyao's red eyes, nodded with difficulty. Cousin. Cousin's sister. The hanging heart finally died. I lowered my head and laughed at myself, then asked them, what about my parents? Dad was silent for a moment. They died not long after you were born. We raised you, so you're just like our own daughter. Right now, I honestly wish they were dead. The atmosphere in the ward suddenly became very strange. It was Su Xinyao who broke the silence, stepping forward and taking my hand. Sister, don't be sad. My mom and dad are your mom and dad, too. You can call them mom and dad from now on. I calmly withdrew my hand. I ignored Su Xinyao's comfort. This supporting female character really doesn't know what's good for her. Our female lead is already trying so hard to please her. What more does she want? Woo woo. Our female lead is still too kind. She could have ignored the supporting female character, yet she still kindly comforted him. Has this world really gone so crazy? It's clearly the female lead who stole the female supporting character's family, and yet the supporting character still has to smile and flatter her. Is the female lead automatically righteous? If it were me, I'd slap the female lead twice. Who understands the sense of relief I felt when I saw this comment barrage? Finally, a normal comment. Honestly, I also wanted to do what the barrage said and slap everyone here twice. But I had just woken up, and I really didn't have much strength in my hands. Yao Yao, I'm here to take you to the celebration banquet. A familiar low, deep voice sounded at the door. It was Wen Shiren. Ah, the male lead is here. Worried that the female lead would be bullied, he specially rushed over to back her up. Actually, the male lead had been standing at the door for quite a while. Hearing that the supporting female character had lost her memory, he let out a huge sigh of relief. After all, the one he likes now is the female lead. If the female supporting character were to use saving his life as leverage, the male lead would only become even more conflicted. Who is this? I looked up at Wen Shiren. The man subtly averted his gaze, not daring to meet my eyes. Dad spoke up at the right moment. He. This is your cousin's fiancé. In other words, your brother-in-law. His name is Wen Shiren. I stared straight at Wen Xian. Deep down, I was hoping he would deny it. But Wen Xian didn't speak, and he didn't push away the arm Su Xinyo had hooked through his either, which amounted to tacit agreement. I lowered my head and looked at the scar on my hand, left behind when I shielded Wen Xian in front of me during the car accident. I ended up in a vegetative state for 3 years, and during those 3 years, he fell in love with another girl, that childhood friend who would drink in silence and cry, begging me not to like anyone else just because someone else wrote me a love letter. In the end, he was gone. When Shurin and Su Xinya left like that, arm in arm, the others went to see them off. I tried to get out of bed and walk on my own and had just reached the doorway when I heard the conversation of the few people outside. Isn't it too much to deceive sister like this? This is also for Cece's own good. If she knew that during the time she was sick, we found someone who looks just like her, how heartbroken would she be? Besides, this way we won't have to worry about her bullying Yao Yao. It's good for both of them. Right now, all we need is to find a way to get Cece to transfer your maternal grandfather's shares. Then split them equally among the 3 of you. As parents, we can finally be at ease. Father Su Wang's words pierced my heart like 10,000 needles, and my eyes finally could not help but turn red. I hadn't expected that after giving all their love to Su Shinya, they were now even eyeing the shares my grandfather had given me. Those were left to me by my grandfather before he passed away. He didn't trust my father. My mother was hopelessly in love, and my younger brother was still little at the time, so he could only give them to me. This is my final trump card, and I absolutely will not give it up. Has the supporting female character figured it out? Aside from herself, there's basically no one here who wants her to wake up. If she hadn't woken up, the Su family would probably not have come to the hospital for almost a month. Right. The supporting female character's father said the shares would be split equally, but in fact, once he got them, he gave them all to the female lead. No choice. Our female lead is just so lovable. My heart gradually turned cold. Perhaps what the system said before was right. Suddenly, the bullet comments appeared again. Supporting female character. Don't listen to them. The villain has always secretly been in love with you and has been praying every day for you to wake up. Female lead. Just look at Jiang Qi. His room is plastered with candid photos of you. He calls your name in his sleep at night, and when he wakes up, the photos are all wrinkled, not to mention the bedsheets, which are impossible to look at. As long as the female lead gives the villain a glance, his whole body goes rigid. Ooh, Jiang Qi, isn't he the arch nemesis I've been fighting to the death with in business at night? While Su Qin wasn't paying attention, I secretly slipped out of the hospital. I had nowhere to go, so I could only trust the bullet comments once and came to the Jiang Group's building. I heard that over the past 3 years, under Jiang Qi's leadership, the Jiang Group had developed better and better and was no longer something the Su family and the Wen family could compare to. I didn't know whether Jiang Qi would see me, so I could only wait for him at the company entrance. After waiting for an hour, I finally saw a black Rolls-Royce slowly drive up and stop not far away. A tall figure got out of the back seat, wearing a sharply tailored suit, surrounded by several bodyguards. Jiang Qi, almost instinctively, I ran toward the man, only to be stopped by the bodyguards outside. Jiang Qi glanced at me from the corner of his eye, his expression blank as he said, Su Xinyo, I remember warning you not to dress up like Su Shi and appear in front of me. No matter how much you look like her, you're not her. I'll only feel disgusted. As soon as the man finished speaking, I had already slipped through the gap between the bodyguards and hugged him tightly. Husband, I missed you so much. I thought that since I was already pretending to have amnesia at the Su family's place, I might as well commit to it and do my best to latch onto Jiang Qi. Support. The man stiffened and finally saw my face clearly. In disbelief, he said, Su Sue. By then, the male secretary Chin Yu had already leaned in close to Jiang Qi's ear and must have told him about me waking up this morning and my amnesia. Jiang Qi's expression eased somewhat, and he looked at me with a complicated expression. I kept playing dumb. Hubby, why didn't you come to the hospital to pick me up? I had to come find you myself. After saying that, I even rubbed forcefully against the man's chest. Jiang Qi's body instantly stiffened, seeing that her boss was about to lose his composure. The secretary immediately spoke up. Mr. Jiang, you can't fall for Miss Su's trick. Have you forgotten that when she used to compete with us for business, she was willing to use any dirty trick? Maybe this time too. It's just a play staged by her and those people from the Su family. Seriously, is that really appropriate to say in front of me? Jiang Qi shot the secretary a disdainful look. You think I'm as stupid as you are. Just as the secretary was about to breathe a sigh of relief, Jiang Qi leaned closer to me and asked in a low voice, What did you just call me? Say it again. I stammered. Who husband? The next second, my feet lifted off the ground and Jiang Qi picked me up in a princess carry. My head rested against the man's hard chest. Be good. Hubby will take you home. The world fell silent, listening to Chin Yu's shattered cry. Ha ha ha. The supporting female character hasn't even done anything yet, and the villain is already hooked. Why do I feel like the villain has a bit of a Yander vibe? The kind of man who, if the supporting female character slapped him, would praise her for having such a fragrant hand. Supporting female character. Breathing. Villain. What a skillful move. Jiang Qi carried me to the CEO's office, and when the others tried to follow in, he locked them out behind the door. I was just about to say something when the man threw me straight onto the sofa. Jiang Qi quickly pressed down on me, his body tightly against mine. I was a little scared and pushed at him. Honey, I'm a little tired. I want to rest. Before I could finish, the man interrupted me. Sue, are you done acting? Do you really think I'm an idiot and will fall for your lies every time? What is it this time? Is it the new partnership our company just negotiated or the land in South City? What is that villain rambling about? The female supporting character should kiss him first. Right now. Female supporting character. Kiss him. Believe it or not. If you give him a kiss, the villain will instantly lose the ability to think. Even if there's a sea of fire ahead, he'd jump in without hesitation. Is it really that effective? With my heart set, I pulled down the man's tie, closed my eyes, and kissed him directly. Jiang Qi's body stiffened, his pupils trembling in shock as he looked at me in disbelief. When my tongue lightly licked his lips, the man's breath caught. The string called reason finally snapped. With one hand, he took off his glasses, and with the other, he held the back of my head, taking control and kissing me even more wildly. Sue, you were the one who provoked me first. The man kissed deeply and fiercely, as if he wanted to pour out all the restraint he had held back over the years. I couldn't breathe and instinctively wanted to push him away. But Jiang Qi caught my wrist and held both my hands above my head. He pushed in deeper. My consciousness gradually blurred. I only felt the tip of my tongue go numb, and my legs kept going weak. Finally, a ringtone brought us back to our senses. It was when Sharon calling. Only then did I realize that Jiang Qi's shirt had somehow been completely unbuttoned. My hand was resting on his abs. Jiang Qi was kissing my lips, his voice hoarse. Answer it. As if possessed, I pressed the answer button, when Sharon's furious voice came through from the other end. Suhi, who gave you permission to sneak out of the hospital? Do you know how worried everyone has been? The villain and the supporting female lead were kissing so passionately here that they could hardly bear to let go. While over there, the male lead had already found out the supporting female lead was missing and was searching like crazy. Strange. Doesn't the male lead dislike the supporting female lead? Why does he look so panicked when she's missing? It's like he's lost something most important to him. He should just be worried. Right. After all, the supporting female lead saved the male lead's life and the two grew up together. So, it's normal to care a little. Where are you now? I'll come pick you up right away. When Sharon's voice was still continuing, Jiang Qi and I were both gasping for breath. Jiang Qi let out a soft chuckle, rolled over to let me sit on his lap, and leisurely took off the Rolex from his wrist. He whispered in my ear, "Tell him you're with me." It seemed that when Sharon had also noticed that something was off. "Suha, who are you with? Why do I hear a man's voice? The villain is definitely getting revenge. Who knows how many years he secretly loved the female supporting character and how jealous he's been of the male lead. As expected, the CPA ship is the most shippable, no matter black or white. Turn it all into yellow for me. Oh my God, where is the villain's hand going? Is this something we can watch for free?" Feeling the man's hand slowly moving upward, I subconsciously tried to stop him. Jiang Qi, wait a minute. Before I could finish speaking, my vision went black and I passed out. At this critical moment, why did the supporting female character faint? Get up. I haven't seen enough yet. As it turns out, aside from the boyfriend needing to be in good health, the girlfriend being in good health is also very important. Let me do it. I'm in good health. Can you let me keep acting? When I woke up again, I was already lying in Jiang Qi's lounge, surrounded by several doctors. The older doctor was reporting my condition to Jiang Qi. He said that I had just woken up. My body was still quite weak, and after being blown by the cold wind outside for so long, I had caught a chill and fainted. Seeing that I had woken up, Jiang Qi hurried over to me and touched my forehead with his hand. Only after confirming that my fever had gone down did he let out a sigh of relief. Qin Yu silently shook his head from behind, looking as if his boss was doomed for life. Jiang Qi asked me again whether there was anywhere on my body that felt uncomfortable. I gently shook my head. Only then did he let the doctors leave. Before leaving, the doctor looked at my swollen lips, and after hesitating for a moment, finally spoke. Miss Su is still very weak right now. Mr. Jiang, for some things, it would be better to be gentler. Don't be too rough. My face instantly burned hot, and I really wanted to find a crack in the floor to hide in. By contrast, Jiang Qi remained perfectly composed, his tone calm and unruffled. Got it. You can head back now. As if this was something very normal. Truly someone who does great things. Indeed, unconcerned with trifles. Because it was already late, Jiang Qi let all the employees off work, then picked me up himself and left the company. It wasn't until the car started that I still had no idea where Jiang Qi was taking me. I suddenly thought of when Xian's called before I passed out, and couldn't help asking him what happened afterward. Jiang Qi gave a light chuckle and said that over there. They kept calling my name, and Jiang Qi picked up the phone and said that I had fallen asleep. There was a long silence on the other end, and then, with a crash, when Xian smashed the phone, when Jiang Qi said this, he seemed to in a very good mood. Soon, the car stopped outside Jiang Qi's villa. How did you bring me here? Jiang Qi narrowed his eyes slightly. You're my wife. If you don't live at my place, where else do you want to live? I was momentarily speechless. Come to think of it, I had nowhere else to go right now. So, staying here at Jiang Qi's place wasn't a bad choice. As I followed Jiang Qi into the villa, the butler immediately came up to greet us. Sir, you're back. Seeing me, the butler scrutinized me carefully for a while. Then his eyes suddenly lit up. Miss Su, hello. I had never seen this butler before, and I didn't know how he had recognized me. Before I could ask, Jiang Qi spoke first. Not Miss Su, but Madam. My mind went blank all at once. This guy, I've lost my memory. Could he have lost his too? He actually took advantage of me so shamelessly in broad daylight. Even worse, I still can't refute him right now. Seeing that I didn't deny it, the butler's eyes filled with even more amusement. Yes, yes, yes. Good evening, madam. I could only force a smile and nod. Haha. No wonder the male lead wants to smash his phone. It's all the villain's fault for fighting and snatching everything, leaving the supporting female character no room at all. Don't be mad. Supporting female character. Just look at the villain's slim waist and perky. But you're not losing out. The good days are still ahead. And dilated, unfocused pupils are not a dream. Why do the black characters look yellower and yellower the more I read them? Is this the bullet comment section or some deserted no man's land? Are there no one they care about online anymore? I helplessly closed my eyes, following Jiang Qi to the second floor. The butler asked which room I would stay in. My heart tightened again. Jiang Qi pointed to the guest room next to the master bedroom. Stay in this room. Only then did I finally breathe a sigh of relief. Thankfully, Jiang Qi wasn't being too outrageous. Comments. The villain's room is full of photos of the female supporting character. How dare he let her go in? Once she goes in, she won't be coming out for 3 days and 3 nights. The villain even used to steal the female supporting character's coat and hug it to smell it, whenever he had nothing to do. It really hits my XP. A proper romance is of course important, but twisted romance is what makes me ship so hard I can't stop. I didn't dare keep looking at the scrolling comments, afraid they would say something even more outrageous. Hurrying back to the room, I closed the door, yet I couldn't help but wonder what Jiang Qi's room was really like. Over the next few days, Jiang Qi stayed with me every day. He ate meals with me and reminded me to take my medicine. He even moved his work into my room, occasionally. Chun Yu would come over to report on some matters and would even be on guard around me. Jiang Qi told him to speak openly. No need to avoid me. Chun Yu looked frustrated, as if he were angry at someone for not living up to expectations. But he still didn't dare defy the boss's orders. He could only tell everything that even included their company's secrets. Even I couldn't help but mutter inwardly that Jiang Qi was perhaps a little too trusting of me. Early this morning, Jiang Qi went to the company very early because he had an important meeting. My body had also almost recovered, and I was just about to go downstairs for breakfast. Then I saw the butler, Uncle Zhao, tinkering with something in the kitchen. Uncle Zhao, what are you doing? I couldn't help asking. Uncle Zhao immediately turned around, pretending to have just noticed me behind him, and said in surprise, Madam, are you coming downstairs to have breakfast? It's nothing. I was just thinking that next month is Sir's birthday, so I've been learning how to fry steak, so I can make it for Sir then. Hearing this, I smiled a little awkwardly. If Uncle Joe's reminder was still somewhat deliberate, the others didn't even bother pretending. The maid was mopping the floor, and when she saw me, she would say, Good morning, madam. The master's birthday is next month, so I thought I'd make sure the floor is extra clean. The gardener was trimming the garden, and when he saw me, he would say, too, Madam, good day. Sir's birthday is next month, and I'm planning to make the garden look even nicer. Know who asked them? And if his birthday is next month, isn't it a bit too early to be doing this now? The words came right to my lips, but in the end I never said them, and just ran straight back to my room to superscript 2. The bullet comments were laughing even harder, turning into ATU mess. I'm dying laughing. They were practically one step away from shouting in the female supporting character's ear. My husband's birthday is coming up. Madam, please don't forget to prepare a gift. Who understands this? Over on the male and female lead side, because the male lead has been preoccupied thinking about the female supporting character lately and has been distracted. The two of them are about to tear each other apart. Is it really okay for the villain and the female supporting character to be this sweet? It has to be sweet. Definitely sweet. Villainous supporting characters, please hand out the sugar properly. If I want to watch dramatic bickering, I have someone else in mind. Honestly, it's not too much to ask for the supporting female lead to prepare a gift. In which year of her birthday did the villain not send one? Those gifts were all priceless. Yet, the supporting female lead has never given a single one. Only after a comment reminded me, did I remember, at every birthday banquet before. Although Jiang Qi was never invited, he would still send someone to deliver a gift every time. I thought he was trying to provoke me, so I either threw away or donated his gifts. I wouldn't even glance at them. Thinking about it now, he helped me so much, and I really treated him pretty badly. It's only right to give him a gift. Thinking this, I immediately got up and had the driver take me to the largest mall in the city center. Though I had been lying down all these years, my shares and investments had continued all along. The returns were also deposited into my card on time. When I checked a few days ago, there was already enough money in it for me to live my whole life without worrying about food or clothing. When I got to the luxury store, I picked out a limited edition men's watch. Just as I was asking the sales assistant to wrap it up for me, I heard a sweet, sticky voice by my ear. Brother Sean, these past few days, it was all Yao Yao's fault. You're about to have your birthday soon. How about Yao Yao gives you a birthday present you like as an apology? What bad luck, running into the male and female leads at a time like this. The supporting female character won't see the male lead and start competing with the heroine again. Will she? I only just started getting interested. If that's really the case, I'm going to drop this novel. Hard to say. After all, in the original novel, the supporting female character was always fighting the heroine for a man. At that moment, I turned my head and happened to see the Su family walking in with Wen Xian and Su Xinyu. Seeing me, when Xian's somewhat unfocused eyes suddenly lit up. When Mom saw me, she immediately came forward and took my hand. Hee hee, Where have you been all this time? I was worried sick. Su Chin-chan added, saying, yeah, sis, you have no idea how worried Mom and Dad have been about you. I merely sneered inwardly. They talked about worrying about me, yet not a single one of them had called me in all these days. Seeing that my expression was off, Dad could only let out a dry laugh twice. Hee hee, this is really your fault. You went off without saying a word. You have no idea how long your uncle and aunt have been looking for you. By the way, the Cher's uncle asked you to hold on to temporarily before you fell unconscious. It's about time you gave them back to us, isn't it? I let out a cold laugh. Why should I give you the Cher's grandpa left me? At those words, the eyes of the few people around them widened abruptly. Su Xinyan's voice trembled a little. You've recovered your memory. Or were all of those before just an act? If I don't put on an act, how would I know whether the people around me are wolves or tigers and leopards? As soon as the words fell, the faces of the Su family and Wen Xian turned pale, then green, then pale again. Dad wore an expression of frustration mixed with disappointment. How did you end up like this? Oh, so now they're trying to turn the tables. If they can't win the argument, they shift the blame. Su Chin also blamed me. Sis, you're being way too willful. Was there any need to be this petty? We only lied to you a little. You've had everything since you were little, which is how you ended up so spoiled. What's wrong with giving something to Sister Xinyan and me? You don't even know how hard Sister Xinyan's life used to be. That's right. Be good. You and Yao Yao are both my daughters. So listen to your father and hand over the shares. Hearing those words, I almost laughed in anger. My eyes grew hot. These were the family I had once steadfastly protected. A familiar young voice came from beside my ear. Yo, quite lively. It was the system. What are you doing here? The system voice sounded lazy. I was bored and had nothing to do, so I came to see how you're doing. And this first look makes it seem like you've been abandoned by everyone. Still just as vicious as ever. Yet I couldn't say a single word in rebuttal. But so what if everyone turns against her and leaves her? I looked up at them. My gaze even. Fama. Was Su Xinyan's hard life in the past caused by me? There's so many pitiful people in the world. Why should I pity her? A fully grown adult with hands and feet who graduated from college. Instead of pitying those children who can't even afford to go to school. Have you had too many good days? 2, 3. Have you gotten addicted to being a beggar? Hearing this, Su Xinya burst into tears. When Sharon, who had not said a word the whole time, also turned cold at this moment. Sue, what you said is too much. I order you to apologize to Yao Yao right now, or I will never forgive you. Just as I was about to fire back, the clerk brought out the watch I had ordered. Seeing the watch, when Sharon's expression suddenly relaxed. So, you came here to buy me a birthday present. If when Sharon hadn't said anything, I would have forgotten that his birthday and Jiangqi's were actually on the same day. Apologize to Yao Yao now, and I can pretend nothing just happened and let you attend my birthday banquet. Otherwise, you definitely won't get to see me then. I laughed outright and suddenly no longer felt like arguing with them. Take your things. When Sharon, the thing I regret most in my life is saving you. I turned and left. When Sharon chased after me from behind. Sue, what do you mean by that? Before the man's hand even touched my wrist, it was seized by another hand. When Sharon let out a scream. Clearly, the force of that grip was no joke. Jiang Qi pulled me into his arms, his eyes sharp as he stared at Wen Sharon. What does President Wen think he's doing to my fiancée? Fiancée. When did he become your fiancée? She's clearly my halfway through. When Sharon realized something was wrong, he turned to look at Su Xinyao, who was still crying, and fell silent. Jiang Qi didn't press the matter either. He lowered his head and looked at me indulgently. Why didn't you tell me when you came out? I could have driven you here. I immediately understood what he meant and reached out to wrap my arms around his waist. You're about to have a birthday, and I wanted to give you a surprise seeing how affectionate we looked. When Sharon's expression grew even uglier at this moment, Dad walked over wearing a sycophantic smile toward Jiang Chi-so. It was President Jiang. Now that he has been with you these past few days, we can rest assured. I am He's father and also the general manager of Su Group. Jiang Chi ignored the hand extended from the other side and simply lowered his head to ask me, "Did you buy it?" I nodded. Then he held me and left. Back in the car, I angrily pushed him away. "When did you know I was pretending to have amnesia?" Jiang Chi laughed softly. "I knew from the very beginning." "So, you've been messing with me all along and making me call you husband every day." As I said that, I reached out and hit him a few more times. Jiang Chi didn't dodge either. Instead, he smiled and let me hit him. "Sis, stop rewarding the villain. He's probably thrilled to death inside. Supporting actress. Don't stop. When you get home, remember to use your high heels to step on the villain's abs. That'll definitely make him even more uncomfortable." Upstairs, your abacus beads are practically flying into my face. After seeing the comments, I couldn't keep going either. So, I could only turn my head away and ignore Jiang Chi after a while. Janda ki su gently spoke. "So, Miss Sue, do you really not like when Sharon anymore, or are you just trying to make him jealous by using me?" When Jiang Chi said this, his teasing tone from earlier was gone and his voice was serious. I still didn't look at him. After thinking for a moment, I finally spoke in a muffled voice. I stopped liking it a long time ago. The man seemed to let out a soft laugh. Suddenly, two large hands cupped my cheeks and turned my face around. What came into view was Jiang Chi's enlarged handsome face, with our noses almost touching. Then from now on, "Misu, can you try to like me?" At that moment, my heart skipped a beat. "System, are you there? Why do I feel like my heartbeat is getting faster and faster? Could it be that I'm still not fully recovered?" But no matter how I called out, the system did not reply to me. The barrage was still flooding the screen. Yo, Peacock Bro is finally showing his feathers. Supporting female character. You're done for. You're going to fall in love. Haha. Your system has blocked you and rejected the dog food you tried to feed it. In the days that followed, I still lived at the Jiang residence. I also began investigating certain matters. Since the Su family wanted the shares in my hands, I naturally wouldn't just sit and wait. Before long, Jiang Chi's birthday arrived. That day, the housekeeper and the servants took leave and left early. Only Jiang Chi and I were left at home. I gave him the gift and made him longevity noodles. Jiang Chi seemed very happy. He drank a lot of wine and ended up a little drunk. My phone kept ringing. They were all calls from Wenxian. There were also many messages he sent. "Why aren't you answering my calls? Are you still living at the Jiang family's place? Suhai, I only lied to you once. Was it really necessary to make such a scene? Yao Yao is so much more understanding than you. She wouldn't pick a fight with me. Or are you trying to make me jealous through Jiang Chi? I'm telling you, that trick won't work on me. This is your last chance. If you don't come to my birthday banquet within 10 minutes, it's truly over between us." Looking at these messages, I felt nothing at all anymore. Just as I was about to delete it, a large hand suddenly took the phone from behind. I turned around and Jiang Chi immediately lifted me up and sat me on the kitchen island. Jiang Chi glanced through the content a few times, then threw the phone aside. He braced both hands on either side of me, his cheeks slightly red as he looked at me, a little puffed up and grumpy. Choose him or choose me. Jiang Chi was clearly somewhat drunk, with a childlike innocence on his face that he never showed when he was sober, like a child competing with a sibling for their parents' affection. The phone rang again. It was Wenxian calling once more. Jiang Chi also saw it, and his grip on my hand tightened. I suddenly felt that he was a little pitiful. As the president of Jiang Group, what woman could he not get? Yet, he had secretly liked me for so many years. In the end, I kissed him on the cheek and said, "I choose you." The man's eyes suddenly lit up, and he reached out to pull me into his arms. He buried his head in the crook of my neck and took several deep breaths. Not enough. What? Just kissing the cheek isn't enough. After saying that, the man suddenly pinched my chin and fiercely kissed me. I seemed to be a little drunk, too, and gradually began to respond to him. My God, the villain is such a good kisser. I feel like my legs are going weak. My mom asked me why I was so creepily. I didn't even dare let her know what I was looking at. By the time I came to my senses, the man had already picked me up around the waist and was carrying me up the stairs step by step into his room. Inside, there really were a lot of photos of me. What's going on? Why did the screen go black as soon as they entered the room? As expected, the platform didn't let me down. I'm a member, and it still won't let me watch. I'm used to it. Woo woo. Villain. You absolutely must not let the female supporting character off the hook. Even without me, you two must still love each other fiercely. The commenter above. You're actually pretty nice. The man placed me on the bed, his voice husky and rough like sand. Is this okay? A scorching breath washed over me, as if my whole body had started to burn as well. In my muddled state of consciousness, I felt like I had nodded. What followed was the man's even fiercer advance. I feel awful. Help me. The man's voice was both seductive and deep, continuously saying things that made one blush and race with a pounding heart. Step by step, he pulled me into the abyss that belonged only to him, sinking into it together with him. When I woke up the next day, I only felt like my whole body was about to fall apart. In contrast, Jiangqi looked refreshed and full of energy. I don't know where this man gets his energy from all day long. He kept tossing me around and tormenting me over and over. The more I begged for mercy, the harder he tormented me. After Jiangqi left, I picked up my phone and saw that when Shuren had sent me a message at 12:00 am, Suhee, you're something else. I'll definitely make you regret this. I didn't know what Shuren would do to make me regret it, but soon I learned from Chinyu. He and Su Shinya were preparing to announce their engagement at the Su Group's new product launch. Jiangqi glanced at me going. I raised an eyebrow. Of course. Why wouldn't I? Coincidentally, I also had a grand gift to give them. That day, Jiangqi and I arrived on time at Su Group's new product launch event. When Father Su saw me, his face darkened at once. Sue, who allowed you to come here? We didn't send you an invitation. Get out immediately. I raised an eyebrow. President Su, I'm afraid you've forgotten. I'm the largest shareholder of the Su Group, even without an invitation. I'm qualified to be here. When Shuren saw me, a flash of delight crossed his face. Then his expression turned cold again. Sue, even if you kneel down and beg me now, I won't change my mind. Su Chen and my mother also came over to warn me. If I dared to cause trouble today, they would no longer acknowledge me. For a moment, I didn't even know who their biological daughter really was. But I ignored them and went straight into the venue, linking my arm through Jiangqi's. Naturally, I also didn't miss the smug smile Su Shin Yao gave me as she brushed past me. Before the press conference began, Su's father took Wen Xian and Su Shin Yao onto the stage. He announced their engagement, and they received congratulations from many people present. I had been watching calmly from below the stage all along. When the actual new product launch event began, Father Su stepped onto the stage, ready to introduce it to everyone. Suddenly, the big screen behind him lit up. The audience gasped. Father Su turned his head to look. What was presented above as materials for the new product launch were clearly evidence of his series of affairs over the years. It turned out that Su Shin Yao had never been adopted at all, but was the illegitimate daughter of him and his mistress. Seeing this, both Mrs. Su and Su Chin went pale. At the end of the playback was an audio recording between Su Shin Yao and Mr. Su. They mocked Su's mother and Su Chin as fools, saying they had been toyed with at every turn because of just a few words from them. They no longer even recognized their own daughter and biological sister. Hearing this, Su's mother couldn't catch her breath and fainted on the spot. Su Chun hurriedly supported his mother, but from his darkened face, it was clear that he now hated Su Xinyao to the core. At that moment, I walked straight onto the stage. I announced that this press conference was cancelled and that Su Group's general manager, Su Weiguang, and Su Xinyao were suspected of embezzlement. We have already reported this to the police. As soon as I finished speaking, Father Su and Su Xinyao were taken away by the police who had come in. Su Xinyao was still desperately tugging at Wen Xian, hoping he would save her, but Wen Xian flung it off in disgust. I stepped down from the stage and found that Jiang Qi was gone and was just about to look for him when Su Chen behind me called out, "Sis, I'm sorry. We were all deceived by that Su Xinyao. Can you forgive me and Mom?" I turned back and looked at him coldly. "Were you really deceived by Su Xinyao? Or are you also worried that once I wake up, I'll fight you for the company?" One sentence made Su Chen's face turn pale again. "Actually, I'm not someone with especially great ambitions. All this time, I've worked so hard only to help Su Chen protect the family business. After all, a large part of the Su family's investments came from Grandpa, and Grandpa only had one daughter, Su Mu. In the past, I always thought that when Su Chen grew up, I would hand over the company and my shares to him, and then go happily travel the world on my own. Looking back now, I was truly naive, since they had always believed I would take the shares. Then I would insist on taking them. I told Su Chen that I would sell Su Corporation's shares and leave the rest of the family assets to them, including the villa I currently live in, which I would consider as retirement money for Mother Su. From now on, we would have no more connection, and if we met, we would treat each other as strangers. After saying that, I ignored everyone else and went straight to find Jiang Qi. I don't know why, but right now I really want to hug him. I finally saw him at the corner of the hallway, but then I heard his conversation with Qinyu. "Mr. Jiang, the Su family has finally gone under. Now all we need to do is get the shares Suhi holds." Jiang Qi took a drag on his cigarette and said slowly, "No rush. Suhi still hasn't fully let her guard down around me. Wait a little longer." I took a step back in disbelief. Everything around me gradually blurred. The system's voice came through. "Now do you understand? No one will truly be good to you. Only I won't abandon you. Koma, come with me. Sue, let's be together every day like before." Gradually, I saw my own body slowly become transparent. Suddenly, I curled the corners of my lips. "Shadow, you're underestimating me. Shadow Tong is the nickname I gave the system during those 3 years. I want to live, and it was never for anyone else. The value of my existence is also not something that needs to be proven through anyone else. So, no matter how many times you make me choose, I'll always choose to live. Even if no one in this world loves me, at least I will always love myself. My life will still be wonderful." As soon as the words fell, the mist around us disappeared, and my vision became clear again. The first person I saw was Jiang Qi. There was unprecedented fear in the man's eyes as he rushed toward me, without regard for anything else, pulling me tightly into his arms. Obviously, he saw me slowly becoming transparent just now. The system voice sounded slightly frustrated. "I lost. Those images just now were deliberately created by me to deceive you. Do this man really loves you?" After saying that, the system completely disappeared. I looked up at Jiang Qi and found that the man's eyes were already red. I stood on tiptoe and kissed his eyes. "Jiang Qi, have I ever told you that it seems I've already come to like you very much?" System perspective. I've forgotten how many years I worked in systems. I only remember that at the scene of a car accident, I saw a woman covered in blood. I couldn't help but say, "Ma'am, you seem to be a little dead." After saying that, I was about to leave, but the woman's soul clung to me tightly, begging me to save her. In the end, I still brought her back and made her work for me off the books. She told me her name was Su Hai. At first, I was really annoyed with her. Gradually, I began to think that having her around wasn't so bad. So, I kept trying to keep her by my side forever. But in the real world, There was always a yearning pulling her back. There was nothing I could do, so I had no choice but to let her go. Anyway, they're sworn enemies. I'm confident Hai will come back to me soon. I'm too lonely, but I discovered that Suha seemed to be liking that man more and more. So, I deliberately created a fake scenario to make them misunderstand. But in the end, I still lost. I didn't lose to that man. I lost to Suha's own will. It seemed like it wasn't quite so upsetting anymore, as if this was the way Suha was supposed to be. This is the Suha I like. After hearing this story, what do you think? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's begin a new story. In my 3rd year as a stand-in, I traveled back 8 years with a child in my belly with no money to my name. I had no choice but to look for my sugar daddy, who was still a poor kid. He, in his adolescent years, sneered, "I've never even touched a girl's hand, and you're saying the child is mine." I steeled myself and nodded until one day I saw the bullet comments. "Can this stand-in stop clinging to the male lead? So annoying. Don't worry. The white moonlight female lead will be back in the country soon, with a second chance. She'll definitely end up with a male lead." So, on the day the female lead returned to the country, I booked an abortion and prepared to run away. Yet he pinned me against the wall with red-rimmed eyes. "Where are you going?" "To find the biological father of the child in your belly." When I found Sion, he had just finished a fight, wiping the blood from his cheek. He sneered, "The child is mine. Do you think I'm stupid enough to be fooled?" I looked at the much younger Sion in front of me and nodded. "Yes, the child is yours." Who would have thought that after being Sion's canary for 3 years, I would find out I was pregnant one moment, only to end up traveling through time with the baby in my belly the next. I had gone back 8 years, with no phone or wallet and not a penny to my name. I had no choice but to go find Sion. Unexpectedly, the sugar daddy from 8 years ago was still this poor and even more nasty in temperament. Sion cast a cold glance at me and let out a scornful laugh. "I've never even touched a girl's hand, and you're telling me the kid is mine." I steeled myself and said, "Yes, if you don't believe me, you can go do a paternity test." He looked like he couldn't be bothered to keep arguing. "I don't have time to play these boring games with you." Seeing that he was about to leave, I panicked and grabbed his hand directly. Sion stopped in his tracks and looked at me impassively. I had never Sion this indifferent. The man he would be 8 years later was much gentler than he was now. Looking at the model blood stains on his body, I couldn't help but ask him, "How did you end up in such a miserable state?" Sion's little mouth was as venomous as if it had been dipped in poison. "Then why don't you go find the child's biological father? Have you fallen so low that you have to try to extort me? A complete stranger." Me. I did look. "The child's biological father is you." Sion shook off my hand as if looking at a fool and turned to leave. I hurriedly tried to go after him, but in my haste I didn't notice the shards of glass by the roadside and my ankle was cut open by a deep gash. Shocked, I couldn't help but cry out in pain. As for Sion's retreating back, it only paused for a moment before he left without looking back. At that moment, a row of bullet comments suddenly appeared overhead. "Seriously, how did the stand-in female supporting character get reborn? 2. She's been clinging to the male lead nonstop. Isn't that annoying? LOL. The male lead doesn't even pay her any attention. I knew the one he loves most is the white moonlight female lead." I blinked, confirming that I wasn't hallucinating. I'd always heard that Sion had a white moonlight, but I had never seen her. Back then, I agreed to be his canary only because Sion was offering far too much. So it turns out Sion is the male lead, and I'm just a substitute female supporting character. I slowly crouched down against the wall and started thinking about what to do next. The bullet comments above my head was still floating by. If it weren't for the supporting female character, our female lead would have already been with the male lead. I hope that, after her rebirth, the female lead can be brave this time. She has to end up with the male lead. Sob, sob, sob. Don't worry. The male lead didn't even glance at the supporting female character just now and left immediately. Our female lead is the real white moonlight. I lowered my head and silently processed all this information. Suddenly, a pair of shoes appeared before my eyes. A shadow fell over me. Looking up, I met Xia Xian's gaze as he stood there, having returned after leaving. He paid no mind to the wounds on his own body, only lowering his eyes to silently stare at me for a long while. Then, he reached out to me. His sharply defined fingers were holding a bandage. His voice was still cold. The wound on your leg. Take care of it. Don't act pitiful. It won't work on me. I couldn't help but retort. I'm not playing pitiful. It really hurts. He let out a soft scoff and added, It won't work even if you act spoiled. Me. I took the bandage, thinking Xia Xian might have just been seized by a burst of kindness, and that after bringing me a bandage, he'd probably leave again after waiting for a long time. The person in front of me still stood there without moving with a stern expression. After a long while, he asked again, Child, whose is it? Exactly. I blinked and still answered with unwavering certainty. Yours. In the end, I still followed Xia Xian back to his rented apartment. The place was very small with only one bedroom and one living room, but it was clean and tidy. After he finished showering, he made the bed and said, You'll sleep here tonight. I asked further, Then where will you sleep? On the floor. I opened my mouth, wanting to say there was no need to be so formal. After all, the you from 8 years later had done every intimate thing with me. But in the end, I still didn't say it out loud, only nodded. Actually, apart from the relationship between this stand-in and the benefactor, we also have another connection. In high school, Xia Xian and I were classmates, but he probably never noticed me. So, I took the initiative to introduce myself. Hello, my name is Yunwan. He glanced at me and said, I know. I widened my eyes. You remember me. Xia Xian didn't answer me. He turned around and lay down on the floor he had made up, looking as if he was about to sleep. I could only silently finish washing up and lie bored on the bed, watching the bullet comments above. The bullet comments had already been flooded with question marks. What kind of development is this? Why is this supporting female character so persistent following the male lead all the way to his house? It's because she insisted on following him. Didn't you see the male lead so disgusted that he'd rather sleep on the floor than sleep with her? In the darkness, I let out a quiet sigh, unable to sleep until midnight. Xia Xian, who had been sleeping soundly, suddenly came down with a high fever. As a qualified canary drawing an exorbitant salary, I had long been familiar with how to take care of a sick sugar daddy. I dragged Xia Xian onto the bed, found some fever-reducing medicine and fed it to him, then placed a soaking wet towel on his forehead. His temperature finally went down. After fussing around for half the night, I finally felt sleepy. So, I skillfully found the most comfortable position and fell into a deep sleep. So, the next day, when Xia Xian woke up, what he saw was exactly the scene. I was wrapped around him like an octopus, using both hands and feet, my face still buried in the crook of his neck, and he still remembered that I was pregnant, his hands subconsciously protecting my stomach. My mind was still a jumble, and in my daze, I thought this was 8 years later. Sensing that he had woken up, I kissed the corner of his lips with my eyes closed, and as usual, muttered coquettishly, Don't go to work. Stay and sleep with me a little longer. Then my chin was firmly pinched and lifted up. Xia Xian stared at me coldly. Who taught you that? I opened my eyes a little blankly. He had already gotten out of bed. Maybe that would be useful for that person. But it's useless on me. I advise you not to waste your time and energy on me. Me. What are you babbling about? I pasted it into Pinduoduo, and there's no response. Xia Xian. Transmigrating like this is far too bizarre. Even if I told Xia Xian, he wouldn't believe it. Although he didn't believe the child was his, he implicitly allowed me to stay. So we ended up living together in this vague, undefined relationship One day, when I woke up, there was already no one beside me. The long absent comments finally appeared again. Huh. Our female lead baby has finally returned to the country. The white moonlight has returned. Who's going to pick them up? The female lead went straight and boldly and asked the male lead out to dinner. And the male lead even agreed. Childhood sweethearts are still the best ship to root for. They've known each other since they were kids. And their mutual secret crushes, really so sweet. The scrolling barrage of comments reflected in my pupils. And all at once, a wave of nausea surged up. I got up and ran to the bathroom, but unfortunately, there was nothing in my stomach, so I could only retch dryly in discomfort. Halfway through feeling sick, I suddenly remembered that Xia Xian had bought me medicine to relieve dizziness and dry heaving. I couldn't remember where I had put it, so I started turning the place upside down to look for it. In the end, I found a box with a combination lock in an inconspicuous drawer. What could be so precious that C.S. Ian not only locked it in a box, but also carefully hid it in a drawer? My conscience told me I shouldn't casually peek at other people's things, but I never had much in the way of morals to begin with. And besides, I wasn't stealing or robbing anyone. I just wanted to open it and take a look. What's the harm in that? I cautiously entered the password he would most likely use 8 years later. Unexpectedly, the very next second, with a click, the combination lock opened right away. Me. It was as easy as pie. I guess there might be something very valuable inside. But when I opened the box, there was only a carefully stored hair tie. A hair tie that, though a bit old, has been well preserved. The hair tie is plain yellow with a small white cloud threaded onto it. I picked it up in confusion, and the more I looked at it, the more familiar it seemed, as if I knew it very well. After thinking for a very, very long time, I finally remembered that I seemed to have had a hair tie like this in high school, too. I especially liked it back then, but later I had no idea where I lost it. My heart gave a heavy jolt, and an incredible thought flashed through my mind. However, high school was something that had happened nearly 10 years ago to me after my rebirth, and my memory of this cloud-shaped hair tie had long since grown hazy. The barrage comments began to flood the screen. Why does the male lead have a hair tie like that saved? It must be our female lead babies. The male lead has been secretly crushing on her for a long time. Right. I'm shipping them again. Am I the only one curious how this female supporting character opened the password lock? With how scheming the supporting female character is, who knows where she secretly found out the password? I frowned. This password was clearly something CS himself told me 8 years later. At the same time, I also understood that I really had remembered wrong. How could this possibly be my hair tie? Just as I was about to put it back where it belonged, a tense voice came from behind me. Yun Huan, what are you looking at? The barrage of comments burst into cheerful excitement. LOL, got caught sneaking through things by the male lead. Our female lead is back in the country. So, hurry up and have the male lead kick the supporting female character out. Urgent, urgent, urgent. I get annoyed the moment I see the supporting female character now. I gripped the cloud hair tie, feeling a little guilty. However, Seal Sion seemed even more nervous. His lips tightened. He looked away and no longer at me, his atoms apple-bobbing unconsciously as he asked, "You know everything already?" There was no anger as I had expected. Instead, he stood stiffly, and even his ears had turned red. I said tentatively, I know you have your one true love. I didn't know what he was so nervous and shy about, so I could only do my best to ease the atmosphere. Hey, who doesn't have a crush? That's totally normal. I'm not going to laugh at you. Seal Sion paused, the expression on his face vanishing as he looked at me blankly. After a long while, he said, Yun Huan, you're so stupid. I protested. Why the personal attack? But he gathered up all his emotions, as if the one who had just been shy and nervous wasn't him, and changed the subject. I bought the dishes you like to eat. As he spoke, He opened the bag in his hand and set the items out on the table one by one. My attention was immediately shifted, and I was delighted to find that it was from a restaurant that was very hard to book, with dishes all in my favorite spicy sour flavor. Seal Sion said indifferently. I bought it on the way. Don't read too much into it. The live comments recognized it. I had sent this the restaurant where the female lead treated everyone. No, the male lead left early today because he was going to buy food for the supporting female character. The supporting female character must be throwing a tantrum and insisting on eating. Can she stop being so dramatic? I couldn't be bothered to keep watching. I hadn't eaten much all day, and only now did I belatedly realize how hungry I was. So, I immediately started shoveling rice into my mouth. Shang Shang was sitting quietly beside me watching me eat. The atmosphere was unexpectedly harmonious. As I was lowering my head to eat, a pair of chopsticks suddenly appeared in my line of sight, picking up a dish from farther away and placing it into my bowl. I looked up and just caught the smile in his eyes before he had time to hide it. Noticing my gaze, Shang Shang put on a stern face again and looked away. I was afraid your arms were too short to reach. Why would you kindly help me pick out some food? I knew clearly that I wasn't the person he truly liked, and so the last trace of reluctance vanished completely. Siang Siang. After hearing what I said, he frowned, not knowing what had upset him again. He turned his head away and ignored me once more. After finishing my meal, I wiped my mouth and poked his arm. He ignored me, and I kept poking. Shang turned his head irritably. What is it? The money I had saved during this period was already enough to have an abortion and support me until I found a job. It seemed there was no reason to stay any longer. I smiled at him. Thank you for taking care of me these past few days. I can leave tomorrow. Sorry to have bothered you. As soon as the words fell, the atmosphere that had just been somewhat relaxed instantly turned stiff, and the living room became so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. Long while passed. His gaze slowly returned to me, his eyes deep as ink, and in the end he laughed. Leaving tomorrow, he slowly leaned in toward me, forced back by him. I tilted slightly backward, my body pressed against the wall, with nowhere left to retreat. CIA Scion reached out, his large hand effortlessly gripping my waist, his fingertips lightly caressing my flat lower abdomen through clenched teeth. Were you going to find him? Your child's biological father. What about me? I've taken care of you for so many days. Am I just a dog you can call whenever you want and shove away whenever you don't? Yun won. Clearly you were the one who started it first. For a moment, I didn't know why CIA Scion would say that. After a long while, I only answered his first question. No, I don't want to look for the child's biological father anymore. I pulled the corners of my mouth toward him. If he found out, he'd probably still make me abort it. Although the CIA Scion 8 years later was gentle and indulgent toward me, I knew clearly that we were nothing more than a purely financial relationship. He wouldn't agree to me keeping this child, and at that moment, the younger CIA Scion stood before me, sneering coldly. He's so awful. He doesn't even deserve to be human. I shook my head and still offered an explanation. I'm just a substitute to him. He doesn't love me, and I have no standing to condemn him. After all, he had given me money I could never spend in my lifetime, $3 million a month, plus all kinds of properties and jewelry for an ordinary person like me. That was already far too much. Blame it on my bad luck. Not only did I transmigrate, I didn't bring any money with me. Instead, I brought the child in my belly. After hearing that, a shadow flickered through CIA Scion's eyes. You're still explaining for him. Have you fallen in love with him? Yin, then your taste isn't that great either. Fallen in love with him. I blinked in a daze, looking at the person in front of me. It would be a lie to say that I hadn't fallen in love during these 3 years as a stand-in, but my reason had always held the upper hand. But now, I suddenly felt a deep sense of confusion and helplessness. He would end up with his true love, and I couldn't give the child a stable, happy life. In the end, I'd most likely have to terminate the pregnancy. That nauseating urge to retch surged up again. and I dashed to the bathroom and threw up all the food I had just eaten. After vomiting, I braced myself against the sink and washed my face. Yet, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to wipe the water off my face. Only after staring blankly for a long time did I realize it was actually tears. A handkerchief was handed to me from my line of sight. Co Sion said bluntly, "It's just one scumbag. Is he really worth crying over like this?" Yet, the movements of his hands were exceedingly gentle. He bent slightly, cupped my face, and wiped away the tears little by little. Co Sion boiled ginger water and fed it to me, then took me to the bedroom and helped me lie down. After such an emotional roller coaster, I closed my eyes, exhausted. In the end, Co Sion softened his tone, patting me lightly over and over, his scent enveloping me. "All right, stop crying. Go to sleep. Everything will be fine after you sleep." The second before I fell into dreamland, I heard him say softly again, "I can support you, too. So, stop thinking about him." Okay, I didn't sleep soundly this time. Halfway through, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. Frowning uneasily, I was still half asleep when the pain vanished, followed by Co Sion's gentle soothing pats. "It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. Go back to sleep." When I lay back down to sleep, Co Sion got up and walked out of the room. The tenderness from just moments ago was gone. His expression completely darkened as he made a phone call. "Help me look into someone. I can provide the woman's blood sample." After waking up the next day, I no longer felt as upset as I had yesterday. After a night of cooling down, my reason once again prevailed. Now that Xia Xian's first love has already come back, I won't have this highly paid job as a stand-in anymore. The urgent priority is still to find a job and get myself settled. So, I packed my bags and prepared to leave. Xia Xian came in and saw this scene, then snatched the suitcase from my hands. "I told you, I can support you. No need. Thank you for everything during this time. You'd rather be pregnant and rent a place on your own than stay with me." I looked at him seriously, as if I were also speaking to Xia Xian 8 years later. "I'll have this child aborted and then start a new life." He frowned irritably, his large hand closing around my wrist, almost in a tone of self-abandonment. "That piece of trash can do it. So why can't I?" I looked up in confusion. "What?" Xia Xian's hand tightened unconsciously. When he looked up, he met the fatigue and distance in my eyes, and in the end he swallowed back the words on the tip of his tongue, saying in a resigned voice, "I just made lunch. It's your favorite flavor. Let's eat first." I was indeed very hungry right now, and Xia Xian's cooking was really excellent, so I nodded and planned to leave after finishing the meal. However, when Xia Xian went into the kitchen to get bowls and chopsticks, his phone rang. While scooping rice for me, he answered the call. "What's wrong?" The voice on the other end of the phone was extremely loud. "Still eating. Brother Xia, something huge has happened." "What's wrong?" "The person you asked me to find last night. I've already found them." "Is this the person?" "It's a bit confusing to me." "Hey, Zomi, come to the hospital quickly. I can't explain it clearly to you over the phone." Xia Xian hung up the phone and continued to serve my food, setting it on the table before saying, "Eat first. I'm going out for a bit. I'll be back soon." I just assumed he had something urgent to take care of, so I didn't think much of it and nodded. I eat slowly, and more than half an hour later, I still hadn't finished my meal when Xia Xian had already returned with a loud clang. The door was opened. He seemed to still be clutching some sort of slip of paper in his hand. His chest rose and fell heavily as he strode toward me, his expression dark and unreadable. "You said before that you wanted to get rid of that child." I nodded. I thought about it, and I think you're right. I have no reason to keep the child of a scumbag." Xia Xian, he had always had a nasty temper, but at this moment, he rarely found himself at a loss for words. After a long silence, he said with difficulty, "Then you said before that the child was mine." since I had already decided to leave him. I casually brushed him off. I was just talking nonsense. Sia Cyan said anxiously. How could it be nonsense? You were clearly very certain when you said it at the time. Me. Oh, but you still didn't believe me. Sia Cyan. Sia Cyan. The child is mine. Yun Wan. The child is mine. Right. He placed the report in his hand in front of me. The final line of the identification opinion supports that Sia Cyan has a biological relationship with a fetus. Me. Holding my hand. Sia Cyan smiled with ease and delight. Great. So, I'm that scumbag after all. Me. Bullet comments. Wait, is this development even right? How is the female supporting character so calculating? Actually using a child to win over the male lead's attention. Please don't abuse our little female lead. This supporting female character is really disgusting. Me. I've been holding back for a long time. Does the person above have no brain? The paternity test was done by the male lead on his own initiative. What does that have to do with the supporting female character? If that supporting female character hadn't shamelessly thrown herself at him, would our female lead have ended up this miserable? Stop, stop, stop. At this point, it's clearly the male lead who's more proactive toward the supporting female character. Right. Babe, keep going. Pinch, pinch, pinch. At that moment, I no longer had the mood to pay attention to the barrage of comments, because Siang quickly came to his senses, the tips of his ears turning a little red, and asked me, So, when are we going to do that? I shook my head. It doesn't matter anymore. The moment I learned that the female lead had returned to the country, there was no need for me to tell him anymore. Even if we take a step back and say Siang agrees to be with me out of a sense of responsibility, I still can't be sure he can completely forget his first love. I don't want us to end up hating each other by the end. Fate has twisted and turned so many times that it's already impossible to untangle. Stopping in time is the most rational decision. Siang gripped my hand tightly. How can that not be important? If this doesn't matter, then what does? Me. Yes, the child is indeed yours. But so what? You have your own life, and I'll get rid of the baby and start over. Isn't that better? Hearing the key words, Siang gritted his teeth and said, Why do you have to start over? Why? Can't I be part of your life? Yes, I know I'm poor right now and can't give you a better life. Yun Wan, can you wait for me a little longer? Wait for me a little longer. I finally couldn't hold back and interrupted him. That's not the point. If someone else had said that, I might have laughed at how overestimating themselves they were. But si ase, and really would have a very, very good life a few years from now. I had never doubted that. I said, the point is that you don't love me. Si ase, you like someone else. Am I supposed to humiliate myself and stay? The person I like is you. As soon as the words fell, both of us froze. I looked up dazedly and met his anxious, yet restrained eyes. At this moment, a pile of odds and ends lay before me. I picked up one of the colorful candy wrappers and asked, What does this mean? Siase, during the second year sports meet, you were handing out candy to your classmates. I happened to walk by, and you stuffed one into my hand. 2. I picked up another test paper with my name on it, and this one, Siase. The teacher told me to sell all the useless test papers as scrap paper. I found yours in there. Besides that, there were also small hair clips, an old keychain. The more I looked, the more alarmed I became. In a flash of realization, I suddenly remembered that cloud hair tie. Siase, and seemed to know what I wanted to ask and explained. It was the day after the college entrance exam. You accidentally dropped this hair tie while moving books. I watched it from the corner for a very long time. No one ever picked up the hair tie, and out of selfishness, I didn't return it to you. I stayed silent for a long time, then finally asked him, When did it start? Siase, if I had to name a time, it would be when you smiled and put into my hand at the sports meet. The sophomore year sports meet was 5 years ago. Siase, I asked again. Then when did we? I let out a cold laugh. 5 years from now. Siase. From secretly loving him since sophomore year of high school to reconnecting as adults. A full 10 years after reuniting, he signed a sugar daddy agreement with me. And another 3 years passed until I was reborn at this point in time. The crush I had buried for 13 years finally saw the light of day. I said, CIA Sion, you're the real coward. The biggest difference between the teenage CIA Sion and the CIA Sion 8 years later was that the younger him couldn't hide his feelings at all. And he was even better at acting spoiled ever since we'd finally talked things through. We were once again lying in the same bed. After hearing my time travel story, he buried his face in my neck and said in a muffled voice, "That was me 8 years from now, not knowing how to use my words. But I'm the 22-year-old CIA Sion. Baby, you can't blame me. I couldn't help but kick him. Didn't you also keep it in for 5 years without saying anything?" He said nothing, wrapping me up in the blanket and leaning in to kiss my lips ingratiatingly. Then I remembered something and asked him, "Why were you so mean to me when I first time traveled here? I thought the child was someone else's, and I was angry at that man for letting you down, angry at myself for not protecting you." At this moment, the live comments had already erupted into an argument. "Wait, what is this development? What about our heroine then? And you're still thinking about your heroine. Didn't you see it? The real White Moonlight is the female supporting character. Come on, come on. The people who've been insulting the female supporting character all this time. I've been putting up with you for a long time. Come out and argue with me. The female supporting character didn't even do anything, and you've been chasing after her to curse her. I watched for ages and even thought my own worldview was the one that was messed up. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Then there's something wrong with this book synopsis. Right. How did the plot collapse into this mess? Suddenly, a line of large red text appeared among the black bullet comments, especially eye-catching. Warning, warning. A serious plot deviation has been detected. Do you want to correct it? Please choose yes or no. The bullet comments were speechless. Fix what the hell? The male lead already loves her this much. What's left to fix? Forget it. Let the female supporting character and the male lead be 99, putting aside everything else. I actually think the supporting female lead and the male lead are pretty shippable. In the end, most people chose no. A red bullet comment floated by. Correction abandoned. Changes made. The supporting female lead, Yun Won, has become the female lead of this book. The subsequent plot line of the original female lead, Su Yao, has been deleted. Su Yao's rebirth plot has been revoked. Revoke the rebirth plot. My heart gave a heavy thump. Could it be that I was going to be sent back again? Xia Cyan asked me from the side, "Baby, what are you looking at?" "Nothing. Go to sleep." I hugged him back and closed my eyes. Whether I was reborn or not didn't matter, as long as Xia Cyan was by my side, half asleep and half awake. I felt a pair of restless lips lingering over my eyes, my lips, and my neck. I only assumed Xia Cyan was still young and too clingy, but being disturbed in my sleep still left me a bit irritated. So, without even opening my eyes, I slapped him across the face without the slightest politeness. The figure beside me paused for a moment, just when I thought he would calm down. The next second, someone gently took hold of my wrist. Those lips kissed my palm again, wetly. Why has Xia Cyan become as shameless as he is 8 years later? Seething with anger, I was just about to kick him again. Open your eyes. The older, mature man had a slightly reddened palm print on his face at this moment. He was looking at me with an unreadable expression. I had traveled back again. If it were Xia Cyan at 22, even though his personality was awful, he was actually very easy to appease. However, at 30, he had reigned in all his emotions and was always gentle with me. Yet, that made me too afraid to act too recklessly. I instinctively felt a trace of guilt and fear. I had only been afraid for 2 seconds before I suddenly thought that the person in front of me had been secretly in love with me for a full 13 years without ever saying it out loud. My confidence came back. And so, I looked back on the past without the slightest fear. Xiaxian paused, then finally just lowered his head and massaged my waist, saying gently, "Sorry, I went too far last night." I blinked. I hadn't expected Sion's bottom line to be so low. If I slapped him, he still wouldn't be angry, but I didn't show it on my face. I kept a straight face and asked him, "Don't you have anything you want to say?" Sion thought for a moment. I promised I'd only come once, but I didn't keep my word. "I'm sorry." "Me. Anything else?" He frowned and had no choice but to continue confessing. "The handkerchief you couldn't find a few days ago. I took it." The bullet comments arrived late. What did he take it for? So hard to guess. LOL. I bet all the things Yun One has lost over the past dozen years were probably picked up by him. I suggest investigating this carefully. Perhaps there's a hidden room stuffed full of your wife's things. Me. I continued asking. Besides these. Nothing else. Nothing else. Okay. I nodded. You still refuse to say it. Huh. Then I'll say it. I don't want to be a canary anymore. Just so happens the agreement we signed has also expired. Xiaxian, let's end this relationship. As soon as the words fell, the room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Xiaxian's always gentle expression cracked for a moment. He took a deep breath, but still couldn't help frowning. Stop messing around. I shook my head. I'm serious. I don't want to keep doing this anymore. His dark eyes fixed on me as he suddenly said, 5 million. Me. Xiaxian. Raise the monthly salary to 5 million. 5 million. I held back with great resolve. Number 7 million. No, the comments broke down. Boring. I'm not watching anymore. My little brother is going to have a baby. I'm logging off first. I'm going all out against you rich people. After C.S. Ian realized this trick wasn't going to work, he thought for a long time as if he'd made a huge decision. Baby, are you upset about last night? I promise from now on I'll definitely be gentler as many times as you say. That's how many times it'll be. Okay. I shook my head and said word by word. It's not about the money. It's not about last night. None of it is. I'm just tired of this relationship. Do you understand? I don't like this relationship. As I said that, I was about to stand up in a panic. C.S. Ian grabbed my hand. What's there to be tired of? I'll change. I'm willing to change everything. So, please don't end this relationship. Okay. I was surprised that he was willing to compromise to this extent. But more than that, I was confused. At this point, was he still trying to maintain this sugar daddy and kept woman relationship? I was almost laughed out of anger and slowly repeated, "You're willing to change." C.S. Ian, there's no need for you to go this far for a canary. At this point, saying more would make forcing him to stay seem a little undignified. He slowly let go of my hand and didn't stop me anymore. Life comments. Urgent. 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 I hate that the male lead is such a blockhead. Actually, it's just two blockheads bumping into each other. Haha. No. Yun One has already said this much. Why is the male lead still thinking about keeping her as a mistress? Go spend the rest of your life with your kept woman. Later, I bought the house I liked, and while I was pregnant, I settled into a leisurely life living alone. I no longer made a point of keeping track of CS Science news. It was just that the bullet comments kept coming to report on his recent situation. For example, what on earth is this male lead trying to do? Every day, it's either working or working out. He even hired a professional trainer at a high salary, and now he's been working out so much he doesn't even know what day or night is anymore. Damn. The male lead finally stopped pretending. He really does have a secret room. What is he going to do in the secret room? So hard to guess. Wait, why are you censoring it? I'm a premium member. I'm already used to these barrage comments by now. That evening, I received a text message. China Mobile Dear User. China Mobile reminds you that temperatures will drop significantly tomorrow. Please add more clothing and time and keep warm. Wish you a pleasant life. I stared at this text message for a long time and replied, CS Sion, I use China Telecom. After a few seconds, the other side sent another message. I miss you. A few minutes later, baby. When I saw this message, I had just finished my prenatal checkup and was on my way home. As I was nearing home, under the dim street light, I saw a dark figure standing by the door. I was just about to call security alertly. That figure drew closer. CS Sion stopped not far from me, not daring to come any closer, and simply called my name, Yunwan. In the living room, I sat on the sofa, staring him down eye to eye. The familiar cool scent gradually enveloped me, and I could also catch a very faint trace of alcohol in it. There was still a hint of drunkenness in CS Sion's eyes. I stood up, planning to go to the kitchen to make him a glass of honey water. Just as I turned around, my wrist was seized by someone. I stood there, neither pulling away nor saying a word. He then cautiously drew closer bit by bit, wrapping his arms around me from behind and pulling me fully into his embrace. His voice slightly hoarse. I haven't seen you for a full 23 days. Seeing that I still didn't respond, he took my hand before I could react. He guided it to his abs, each muscle distinctly defined. He was practically breathing in my ear, the lingering notes of red wine drifting over. Baby. Satisfied, I jumped in surprise and yanked my hand back, turning to face him. What are you doing? He undid each of the buttons one by one, revealing a broad expanse of skin, then found my hand again and placed it on his chest. The heat of his body made my fingers curl slightly. CIA Sion's voice was pleading. You've grown tired of this relationship, and you no longer like my money. And what about this body of mine? Has it managed to stir even a little interest in you? So he'd been working out all this time for this reason. Donmu, I'm begging you. Please, just get together already. Okay, I really am kneeling here begging you. Comma. Huff, huff, as expected from someone who's been working out for 23 days. Oh my God, that chest muscle he's built. Hey, why is it censored again? Comma. System, I really have to say something to you. Why does this even need to be censored? He lowered his eyelashes, and his usually immaculate lapels were now disheveled. Using every possible means to salvage the situation, I applied a slight force with my hand and heard him gasp. I let go, and in the end, he stood aside, buttoning his shirt back up one by one. Money and the body are not the most important things. CIA Sion, you always use trivial things to keep me here. Why never thought of using love to keep me? CIA Sion slowly raised his eyes, his voice trembling. What? I never thought there would be a day when it would be my turn to say this. And I said, I don't need money. I need lots and lots of love. From sophomore year of high school until now. Si Sien, when will you finally dare to say you like me? As soon as the words fell, his breathing quickened. He stared at me without blinking and said hoarsely, You already knew. MHM. I asked him, why were you never brave enough to say it? Si Sien stayed silent for a long time and finally confessed. At first, I didn't dare say it because I was too poor to give you a stable life. Then later, when you had money, why didn't you confess and instead sign a sugar daddy arrangement with me? I once heard you tell someone else that it's hard for you to like something for very long. Except money. Me. So Si Sien, I can't be sure whether you like me, but I can be sure that you love money the most, and I happen to have a lot of money. So, I think this kind of financial relationship can make you stay by my side for a longer time. Sorry, but it seems I made you sad. The truth after all these years was finally revealed. I fell into a long silence. Si Sien stood there somewhat uneasily. Baby. I took a step forward and hugged him directly, letting out a soft sigh. I did say that it's hard for me to maintain a lasting fondness for someone. But if it's you, Si Sien, I think I'm willing to try. Si Sien seemed stunned by my words, standing there dazed for a long time. Then he hugged me back even harder, as if he wanted to embed me into his flesh and blood. He bent slightly, burying his face against the side of my neck. his voice gentle and filled with joy. Baby. Good girl. Yunwan. I love you. However, this tenderness didn't last long before that wave of nausea rose up again. I shoved him away abruptly and ran to the bathroom. A few minutes later, I had somewhat recovered, leaning on the marble counter, and started thinking about how to tell Si Xian that I was pregnant. The next second, I heard him call me. Si Xian was holding my pregnancy test report in his hand, staring blankly at me. You're pregnant. I pressed my lips together and gave a soft MHM. He gently pulled me into his arms, kissing my eyes, the tip of my nose, and then the corners of my lips, speaking a little incoherently. It's our child, and I only just found out now. We're going to have a baby. Later, the child in my belly was finally born. It was a girl. Her soft little hands were always grabbing onto me, looking at me and giggling. Not long after Xian had a vasectomy, I was a little surprised. You don't like children. Xian pulled my hand away from our daughters and explained. It's not that I don't like them. It's just that pregnancy is too painful, and I don't want you to go through it again. Safety measures can also result in pregnancy by chance. Sterilization is the best choice. Baby, I'll love you together with her from now on. Live comments. Everyone listen up. Only love like this is allowed to have children. The Little Couple 99. Wah, it's finished. Confetti. After hearing this story, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. We look forward to hearing from you.